Reed, welcome to the cave. Thank you for joining me today.
Happy to be in the cave. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
Second time. Last year we saw you on the
Second
Junket.
time.
Now we get a one-on-one interview, which will be fun. The listeners, the viewers that can tune in can see you season two, which recently premiered, right? Villains of the Valley View on Disney. How has this ride been for you since last year with this
This is
show?
true.
Yep.
Um, it's been crazy. Obviously last season was a bit of the whole point of the first season is kind of getting in the swing of everything and
Yeah.
getting, used to these characters and the writing, and everybody's still kind of figuring each other out. And so when we jumped into second season, everybody was just firing on all cylinders, and we were just, everything was just bigger and better and sharper than it was last year. So we had a lot more time to really make the most of this year and put in more input with these characters and infuse more interesting things just to make it more of a dynamic show, to set it apart from every other Disney show that we've ever seen. And it was a big year of just kind of self-discovery when it comes to work, because this is the first year that I've like lived by myself. So a lot of things that come from learning the lessons of now living by myself in an apartment now kind of come into play with like how I navigate my work, and what lessons can I take from the things that I've learned over the past couple of years and put it into the character, and just kind of infusing things that I can take from my own life and put them into my characters.
Yeah. We're gonna jump into the newest season in a few minutes too, but I want to talk a little about your career. Also, I was doing some research on you. Born in Denver, how does a kid from Denver decide to go into the acting world? What made you jump into the industry?
I it's a funny story, and it's honestly a little bit ironic considering the events of the past week. So, um, brief backstory: I was at the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny premiere a week ago, and why that's relevant is because um, I first watched Star Wars when I was 3, right? And I loved Harrison Ford's character Han Solo. I loved the world, everything about it. I was obsessed with it. And then a couple of years later, I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Again, seeing Harrison Ford, and I never really knew what an actor was. The thought that these stories were fictional never really occurred to me at that young age, and so my parents had to like sit me down and explain to me why I was seeing like Harrison Ford double, and explain to me who Harrison Ford even was and what he did and what this job was. And that was like both world shattering yet deeply inspiring, because it's like people get to like play pretend for a living. Like that's a thing that people do. And from then on, it had been something where I had kind of done as a, kind of a for fun thing, summer theater camp, things like that. And then when I hit about 13, 14, I had some friends who had gotten some success film and television acting while I was still doing plays back in Denver in the local theater company. And then I saw how they were doing and I wanted to give it a shot. So we started out locally in Denver, commercials and things like that, student films, kind of little extra spots if they were open, around Colorado, and then started flying out to LA, and rest is history.
Uh, I gotta know. You said you saw the premiere. How was it? Don't spoil it for me. But how was it?
No spoilers. It was gorgeous. I mean, as a conclusion to that saga, that story, I think it was really, really well done. I had some friends who were work or had mutual friends who were working on the movie, and they all had really good things to say about it as they were working on it. So I was stoked. I was gonna like it regardless, just because
Yeah.
that's who I am. But it was really satisfying to watch, and it was very beautiful. So they should be really proud of the work that they did.
If they ever redo another Young Indiana Jones, you're gonna go for it or what?
I mean, I would love to. I mean, I got to give credit where credit is due. I believe it was River Phoenix that played young Indy back in Last Crusade. He did a really good job, and that's a pedestal in of itself, to try to tackle a role that someone else has done so gracefully. So if I get the opportunity to audition for it, that would be awesome. But at the same time, also like respect to the actors who have done the hard work, because they've laid the groundwork and they've succeeded. So I'm like, I don't want to tarnish that that legacy
Right.
at all.
Right. Speaking of roles, does Reed have a dream role that you want to get your hands on someday? I know you're kind of doing like the superhero villain right now, but is there Anything you love to tackle?
Gosh, I mean, it's too many to count, to be honest with you. I mean, it kind of it changes every day, to be honest with you, with the more television that I watch. Just seeing new kinds of shows that I never really conceptualized before. Like I've always wanted to do a Western, always wanted to do a Western. I was a
Mm.
big cowboy kid growing up. My whole family's from Montana, so that's a huge part of the culture over there. So I've always wanted to do something like that. That would be cool, like a kind of spaghetti Western, fistful of dollars kind of thing. But uh, my brother and I are watching The Bear right now, and that's another kind of show that I would love to do. Just it's hard to pinpoint because everybody's coming up with so many really cool ideas now, especially in the you know the wake of streaming. Everybody's got a good idea, and it's just like as an actor, it's a dream. It's like the sky's the limit with characters, and the auditions that we get are things that we could have never imagined. So um I'll know it when it hits me, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
when I see the script, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the one. But if I had to pinpoint it to one thing, it's got to be Star Wars. I'm a nerdy guy by nature, but like I love Star Wars. To be a part of that universe would be absolutely wicked. So I'm gonna
Mm.
say either Western or Star Wars for sure.
There you go. And it's so great about Star Wars, I guess the universe is so open with it now. It's like you can even just do voiceover and you're still in it somehow.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I watched a lot of the cartoons growing up, whether it was the Clone Wars or Rebels or whatever,
Yeah.
and even hearing actors like Freddie Prinze Jr. is a part of the Star Wars universe now by virtue of the cartoons, and now he's a character that people love. It's like anybody's got an opportunity now, so that would be really neat.
So yeah, so let's jump now into the Villains of the Valley View. It just recently premiered on Disney season two. We talked about how it's been crazy for you going from season one to season two, but I kind of know because I didn't get a chance to ask you this last year on the junket. Tell us a little bit about the audition process that you went through for Jake Chaos.
The audition process honestly it was really crazy because of course we were in COVID while it was happening,
Yeah.
kind of almost post-pandemic, sort of like on the tail end. And so all of it was done via self-tapes and Zoom sessions and things like that I did in my basement, self-tape room. Um, and original like one of the first scripts that we got, it was a scene with my character and then Malachi's character Colby and then of course Amy, and they were in like a battle with a superhero who had just found them, and then they pursue into like sibling argument while it's happening. It was a really cute scene. But the dynamics of these siblings were, very defined right from the jump. Um, and I remember loving the very just sarcastic, kind of antagonistic relationship that these siblings had. And I had about 3 sessions with that, if I remember correctly, just over, callbacks and kind of Zoom, not Zoom, just self tapes. And then the funniest part is I got a call for my first chem read while I was on vacation with my family in Disney World in Florida.
Oh,
And so we had a day in the park. And so I spent the morning in the park, got an Uber, went from the park back to our hotel room, did the chemistry read which is where I met Izzy and Malachi for the first time over Zoom, and as well as James and Lucy. And it was like a 2 hour Zoom session. Like
wow.
it was the longest Zoom I had ever been in. Like a lot of time in the waiting room, kind of twiddling your thumbs and making sure you know your lines, things like that. And then you pop on and it's like, okay, it's time to be professional, time to get your game face on. But reading with Izzy and Malachi immediately set me at ease because they are already so professional and just so grounded, that it just made reading with them just an absolute breeze and made it an actual just not nervous but fun auditioning
Mm,
process because I loved watching the choices that they were making because it inspired me to make different choices in the moment.
yeah.
And so that was very, very special for sure. And then I didn't get the call that I booked the job until I had returned from my vacation, and I was in a drive-through, literally a drive-through, and my manager called me with my whole team on the phone, and I had to pull out of the drive-through as there were cars behind me and kind of fishtail my car into a parking spot very haphazardly and take the phone call while my car was kind of up on the curb. And I'm just like, yeah, hello, what's going on? And then like it's either good news or bad news when the call has your manager and your agent
Oh
and your
yeah.
parents on the phone, and you're like, oh, here we go. And so it was a very kind of funny collection of moments that make up that really great memory. But it was a fun process for sure, especially seeing
Hmm.
how much we kind of grew as now our cast family with every step along the way.
Hmm. You mentioned family and everything, like this show's on Disney Channel. It's a family oriented show. My 8-year-old daughter loves the show. When you booked it,
Nice. Thank you.
and it was you get to play Jake, but you also get to play a villain of chaos. Like what went through your mind?
Yes. Um, man, it posed a unique challenge for me when I first got that character because, as far as his family dynamic is concerned, everyone apart from him wants to be a villain. They want to live that
Yeah.
lifestyle. They're very um against the idea of trying to be anything different than that. And so when I first started seeing more for this character of Jake, it's like, oh, he's already like set apart from all of them. And as we've progressed from first season to second season, it's like his family has started to accept him for that and in his difference from the rest of the family. Um, but what's cool is he's started to now influence them, and he's started to leave a mark trying to be a good person and try to do different on his siblings. And you'll see it in a few episodes where um, you think of a decision that like Amy would make in season one, but now because of something that Jake said to her, she stops and thinks twice about it. And it's nice to see that he's making an impact, and the work that he's done on himself is now kind of inspiring the rest of his family. Like he might still get grief for it, and he does every episode for being the goody two shoes character, the Boy Scout, whatever. But he's proud of that, and he has faith in his family that like that has value, and then they'll see it eventually. He's just got to give them time, which I thought was a really really awesome character to play.
Would you say he's growing a lot from season one now, hitting into season two?
Absolutely. I mean, season one for him was all about kind of establishing the fact that he stood apart from the rest of them.
Yeah.
And so you see him doing so, and the consequences of that by him, interacting with the superhero Starling, and that kind of relationship that takes place, and how his sister feels betrayed by that. And he kind of learns firsthand what the consequences of him trying to go off on his own feels like. And now, when at least seemingly all the conflict has subsided at the end of season one, going into season two, he feels like the pressure's off now, and he can kind of further go into this kind of self-discovery mode where he's like, I've lived as a villain my whole life. I've never lived as a normal person.
Right.
And there's all these things I see in normal life, like on, television and movies, that looks like fun, and I want to try it. And so Jake spends a lot of season two just trying things and trying to like really find himself, and also kind of figure out his comfort level when it comes to his relationship with this whole idea of a hero versus a villain, and where he stands on that, because there are quite a few points where he gets very conflicted, and he has to kind of force himself to make a choice. And to see him in that very, I guess, isolating conflict, because the rest of his camp family, at least as far as he knows, can't relate to that.
Yeah.
And so he has to really learn to fight these problems and these battles on his own. um so season two is really just his season of self-discovery for sure.
Hmm. Last year when I spoke to the whole cast, everybody has like a unique way bringing these characters to life. And they're funny. These cast members are funny. Like, is there a specific
Absolutely.
cast member that when you find out you're working with them for a lot of scenes, you get excited about?
Absolutely. I mean, with all of them for sure, because every cast member has a very unique humor that I
Yeah.
interact with in different ways. But the one person that always posed the most fun and challenged me was James, because
Yeah.
James is a comedic master. Like there's no doubt about it. The dude is a machine. No matter how many lines you give him, no matter how many alts, situations, whatever, he will find the funny no matter what. And so whenever we would be in a storyline together, I would get like a little bit competitive. I'm like, I'm gonna steal his laughs because I know he's gonna try to steal mine, and we're gonna have fun with it. And so it would get to the point where we would do a couple takes of the scene as written, and then we would go to the writers and our showrunners, Chris and Brian, and we would start pitching ideas for like buttons on the end of a scene and stuff like that, and just kind of trying to outdo each other. And that made the scenes so much more fun because it kind of opened the floodgates to this like creative collaboration in a way. And it wasn't just like actors being actors. It's like, oh no, now you're kind of comedians in your own right. Like you like you know things that are going to be funny, and now you're trying to top each other. And it's fun and it's lighthearted, and it's always so fun to be in those situations, especially with James, because he makes it like you have to think outside the box for sure. And it's awesome.
Awesome. What are you hoping for when the viewers tune in to watch this? Like, what are you hoping to get out of this season?
Wow. I first and foremost, I'm just grateful that people are watching. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's such a privilege to go on social media and see feedback and people are liking it. Like that's enough in my book. But the thing that I hope that people get from this is, and I guess this is kind of an ongoing theme for all the characters this season, is that concept of trying to find like yourself and where you belong, in the sense that like you have to forge your own path. You know what I mean? Like despite all of the outward, external pressures upon you, people telling you, what you should do and who you should be, at the end of the day, like you have to make that all your own, make that call on your own and find yourself. Because every character deals with that in this season. Like they the for a lot of them, the ghosts of the past come to find them, and then it's like this test of character is going to determine who I am. And you have to be brave in those moments. And I feel like that's a huge thing that I feel like that I want the viewers to get from that is, yeah, like you got to be brave. And you can always ask for help with whether it's your family or your friends, and have people that have your best interests at heart, and hold on to those values, because yeah, life will test you no matter what, but you gotta be ready to weather that storm. And I feel like the Maddens really feel that this season, and they have to work on expanding their circle of trust. And so I hope people kind of really resonate with that this season for sure.
How many episodes are we expecting for this season?
19 is the
Wow.
final. Yeah.
And how far you think we have a shot for a season 3 or what? Have you heard anything so far?
I'm hoping so. I mean, I'm always optimistic. We'll see how it goes. Between you and me, I think we'll be okay. I'm really hoping for it, because I'm so proud of this season, and I'm so proud of the work that everyone has done. And I feel like that will resonate with the audience. I feel like people will see that, and know how far we've come as a unit working on this show. So I really hope that we get a third season, just to see how we can push it even more and see where we can go. But yeah, I'm very hopeful for that.
Awesome. Rita, what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about that are coming out or working on?
As I mean, not as far as acting goes. We're just, I mean, staying with villains. I mean, still auditioning, when I can. It's a bit of a slow season right now, but we're good. Seeing how things are going. But outside of that, playing music with my band right now. We're playing a show at the Troubadour in LA in July, so that's a huge thing I have to look forward to. But outside of that, just really enjoying the downtime of having worked for 8 months, and now it's like you can rest and recuperate, be with your family, be with your friends, and make up for lost time that you spent working 5 days a week, and just kind of recharge and be ready for a third season. And so that's what I'm hoping for.
It's awesome. Reed, how can the listeners and viewers find you on social media? Keep up with you.
Just under my name, Reed Horstmann on Instagram. No spaces, no caps. I know my last name's a little bit hard to spell, but that's two N's on the end. I always have to remind people of that. But yeah, that's how you can find me. I think it's the same on TikTok as well. But yeah, that's how you can find me.
Awesome, Reed. This was great. Thanks for coming on this show, and let's get you back on in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank